Well, welcome. I'm Kirtika Reddy, the co-founder and CEO of Virtualness. And by the way, I know you've come to listen to insights about generative AI and blockchain. I'm really here to tell you about how you can win a free, all expenses paid trip for two to Bhutan. How about that? Yeah? Whoa! Yeah. And by the way, people told me that if that had been the title, we would have had twice as many people in this room. And there is an intersection between generative AI, blockchain, and a trip to Bhutan. Um, Today, Virtualness is, we just as our official launch just this morning. And so this is the first event that we are hosting after we have launched our product. So you can go to App Store, Android, mobile web, and check us out. And it's very significant because today is also World Gratitude Day. So we are grateful to be celebrating with all of you. My journey has been that of being a builder, an investor, going right back into building. So before this, I was the first employee for Facebook in India, their managing director for Facebook India and South Asia. Really saw a country go from less than 100 million people on the internet to over 600 million people. And this was not in a matter of like 20, 30 years. We're talking about 10 years. So it's staggering to think about how much things can change as you think in decades. And certainly as I stand here today, generative AI and blockchain are the two most exciting technology areas. Lots of more technology changes happening, whether it's IoT, computer vision, 5G, and all of that only accelerates what's happening in generative AI and blockchain, and we could not be more excited to be deep diving into it. What we're going to do is we're going to hear from some amazing entrepreneurs, startup leaders, creators, influencers through this hour of programming where they'll deep dive into what does all of this mean. And we'll talk about, I think the industry indexes more on the technology versus the so what. And so we're going to really try to shift today to talk about the so what. What does this all mean? In my early days of Facebook India, when we used to ask people, are you on the internet? They would say no. Are you on Facebook? They would say yes, right? So the technology doesn't matter, it's what you do with it that matters. And technology is all about making what people have needed for decades and decades. How can you make that better, faster, cheaper, simpler? And those are the kind of things that we're going to be deep diving into over our time this evening with some really fabulous speakers. I won't leave you hanging about that connect with a trip to Bhutan, yeah? So, as I mentioned, today is World Gratitude Day, and as we launched, we have announced a Gratitude on Chain Festival. It's 21 days of expression of gratitude starting September 21st, and we invite you to download Virtualness, use its super easy to use tools to design, create, mint on blockchain, associate rewards if you'd like to, and really use it as an expression of gratitude for someone, for something. And blockchain gives you that permanence, that immutability, and a legacy that will last beyond time. I personally am doing a 21-day gratitude journey, and this is my first gratitude digital good. This is saying thank you to my mom. My mom actually did not have the opportunity to finish her high school education because her parents said that she only needed enough math to do the grocery bill. And by the way, her brother had a postgraduate degree, so they knew the value of education. So as I think about the change that one generation can make, I'm just deeply, deeply, deeply grateful for the opportunities that I have. And honestly, when I had the opportunity for her to dial in into the New York Stock Exchange bell ringing when I was there, ringing the bell for one of our SPAC IPOs, and it was surreal that my mom, who didn't finish her high school education, joined us over Zoom and was there with her daughter and with her granddaughters. So truly grateful. Think about what you're grateful for, and we invite you to download the Virtualness app, express your gratitude for someone, something, or just what gratitude means to you, use our Gen AI tools. We promise once you use it, you won't be wanting to use anything else. And someone told me this morning, please mention that it's free. This is all for free. We make money on a transaction model, only make money if our creators and the people using our platform make money. So have fun with this, and we can't wait to see your expressions of gratitude. So with that, let's get going with the rest of our programming and for us to hear from the incredibles, creators, influencers, leaders that we have lined up for you today. And we're going to first start with someone who has broken many barriers consistently, who's just telling me that's not the picture that we should have used. That's the signal that she picked up. We will use a different picture. But she's been a trailblazer in many different ways. Several times New York Times bestseller, an Iranian American humorist. I'm going to let her come up on stage and talk to you about what she's doing with blockchain and Gen AI and her story.
Is this on? Is this on? Is this on? No, this is not on. Is it on now? Okay. Okay. Thank you. Well, thank you all of you for being here tonight. I'm grateful for Kirtiga, so let me start with that. So I am a storyteller. I write books, I write newspaper articles, screenplays, and I've spent the past 20 years traveling the world telling stories. I'm a humorist, so I'm used to making people laugh. But in 2022, I had the worst year of my life, and it was a very difficult year. There was a lot of grief. And as I was going through this year, at some point, I wrote an article about it for the LA Times. And that article generated such a staggering response that I realized that even though I have spent 20 years writing stories that make people laugh, I'm also really good at making people cry, and especially talking about grief. So, and also bringing comfort to people. So I realized that what I wanted to do at some point was to write more about my experience of this terrible year that I had, during which I sobbed from January to October. And in fact, the story is called Sob. So, but I didn't want to write this story. I wanted to actually do it in a way that people could hear my voice. And I thought maybe I'll do a one-woman show. But then I thought, you know what? I'm going to make it like an audio story, a 1-hour audio story that people can download. But here's the catch. There's actually no place to do that. So if you have a podcast, there's places you can do that. If you have an audio book, there's places. But there's no place for just a 1-hour audio story. And I'm such a big believer in stories. Everybody has a story to tell. Our lives are made entirely of stories. Everything you believe is a story. So I thought, what am I going to do? And I happened to mention this to Kirtiga, who of course has an answer to every problem. And this is where she told me to post this. By the way, that is an ugly picture of me. Can we just agree on that? That was horrible. Anyway, so my story is going to be live like in 2 weeks. But what's really, really exciting to me is when you're an artist, people expect you to do everything for free, okay, or almost free. And which is great if you're like a Rockefeller or you're married to somebody rich. But if you, in my case, are a single woman and you're an artist, so what do? Do you stop working as an artist? So what's great about this platform, it actually enables you to monetize your talent. And this is so important because I hope that a lot more people actually tap into their artistic abilities. And I'm really hoping that my story is going to start a trend. So with that, I'm going to pause because I promised I would not speak more than 5 minutes. So I think I'm going to stay with that promise. So thank you to all of you for being here.
So Firouz, a quick question. What should the audience expect in Sob?
Okay, so thank you. I forgot to mention that. So actually, Sob is a 1-hour story about overcoming grief. I know you're like thinking, I'll never listen to that. But it's actually very hopeful. It's funny in parts. And, you know, I really think a good story is better than an antidepressant because it resonates and you realize you're not alone. And I've had 8 test audiences so far, including a rabbi. So, and I mean, he gave it like 5 stars. So that's like, you know, that's like a 5-star from God. So basically, I believe it's my best work. And I'm guaranteed, 100% guarantee you'll like it. And if you don't, Here2Go will refund your money.
All right. Has anyone in the audience ever been the answer for a Jeopardy clue? Like anyone, raise your hands if you have. All right, guess who has been? Firuze. So nice, right? So yeah, so the New York Times bestseller was one thing, but yes, the Jeopardy clue was what got people. And I was reminded that I still haven't told you what the connection is between the trip to Bhutan and what we just spoke about. So if you participate in the Gratitude on Chain Festival, look at like all of the things that are amazing creators are doing. Everyone on the panel has their creations out. Some are for free claims, some are for sale. So go browse, go explore, go express your gratitude. And everyone who participates in the Gratitude on Chain 21-day festival, you have a chance to win an all-expenses paid trip for two to the happiest place on earth at the award-winning Post Hotel. Thank you, Post Hotel. And so with that connection made, I am going to hand it over to our incredible moderator for the next panel, a legend in the creator economy space, top 25 people shaping the creator economy. Jim, so excited to have you as an advisor to Virtualness and to have you here.
It's great to be here, and thank you very much. Y'all should scream and yell so more people come in. So we're gonna have an amazing panel, right? Yeah! And I'm grateful for Karthika as well. So let's bring the panelists up here. We're gonna talk a little bit about blockchain, talk about AI, talk about the intersection between them, talk a little bit about gratitude as well. So as I mentioned your name come up, we're still missing 2 microphones. So who stole our microphones? Karthika stole one. There's another somewhere else. There's what? Oh, Shira's already got her microphone. So we're going to start off with Shira Lazar. Shira, so great to have you here. Big round of applause. Emmy-nominated host and creator, founder of What's Trending, Peace Inside. Take whichever chair you want. You can sit next to me. Then I can manage you. Okay, coming up next is Maya Akiyoshi, who's co-founder and CEO of Curious Addys Trading Club. Amazing, building tools to make Web3 mainstream. Maya, come up, take whatever seat you want. Yay! And then last but not least, Ashutosh Garg, who's co-founder and CEO of Eightfold, which is an amazing company that I use AI and other things to hire, maintain, and grow a diverse workforce. So yay, everybody here. Thank you guys for being here. That was my introductions, which were terrible, but you can look them up on the internet. There is a slide up there that will show you pictures of them, which are probably all not great as well, but that's okay. You kind of know what we look like, but the slide lets you know. It's like, wait, who was that speaking? And I'm Jim Louderback. If you want to know more about me, go to LinkedIn. I write a weekly newsletter called Inside the Creator Economy. You should all subscribe to it. And that's all I'm going to say there. We're going to talk about, like I said, the intersection of blockchain, AI, Gratitude Day. I want to start with the state of blockchain. So I was going through some of my notes and I got this great quote from 2017, Gideon Greenspan, blockchains are overhyped. Where are we on the hype cycle right now with crypto and blockchains and NFTs? And Mai, you actually help make it all understandable to normal people. So let me start with you. Where are we on the hype chain?
Yeah, before I start, how many of you are in blockchain industry building right now? Like half.
Cool.
Yeah, nice. I just wanted to make sure because I don't want to talk about too general thing, but yeah. But yeah, so hype cycle wise, so I build in NFT space. So like, there are different sectors in blockchain like DeFi, DAO, NFTs, but I will talk about NFTs because that's what I know. So market size, as everyone knows, from 2021 to 2022, the market size just like drastically dropped by 95%. So like everyone knows the market size really small. That got really small. And so we look at Dune. Dune is a tool that you can see any analytics. You can query data on blockchain, and you can create a kind of chart by using blockchain data. So that's really helpful. So we look at all the data like every month and like see how many people are deploying the contracts for NFTs, how many people are minting, and the Ethereum, it's just steadily going down. The number of mints, number of deployments, very depressing. But the great news is we look at the Polygon and it was like crazy up. And we were like, wow, this is really, really crazy. And Arbitrum, Optimism, those are also growing, but Polygon is like a great, great winner. So what we realized is, the market size, the volume of money that's moving around is much, much smaller, but activity is still pretty big in L2. So that's something that I'm really optimistic about.
Cool. Shira, you're an expert in the space. You've been covering it for a long time. You probably know more about it than most people. Tell me a little bit about where you see the state of it today, crypto, blockchain, NFTs.
Appreciate it. Well, I always say I'm not an expert. I'm an enthusiast.
You're an
and
enthusiast.
I'm learning along the way, just like everyone else. And then my content reflects that, of course. So yeah, I think that the state of things right now can seem depressing. Everyone talks about we're in a bear market. However, I don't think blockchain is going anywhere. It's going to be the tech on which everything is built. It's just, what are we actually building on it? What are the use cases? And I think it had this bubble of this like fandom and this community that was built through NFTs. And I think the NFTs we know from that moment in time are going to be different than the ones that we see continuing and becoming popular or use cases the next 5 to 10 years. And I think Polygon, the reason why Polygon has done so well is because they really focus on gaming, right? And so I think that each blockchain, each company is going to find, the use case and the audience. And I still think like the community building aspect around it, the fact that it's a certificate of authenticity, that it's, it's irreversible. Like all these things are very important as we look at the future of technology, right? But it's interesting because I was actually sitting on a flight next to someone today who is in tech, lives here. Obviously, we were flying into SFO. And, he said with quantum computing in like 5 to 10 years, it's going to break it. So like anyone can actually take the NFT and like make their own version. And so you're going to see like a pre-quantum computing era of the blockchain and NFTs in a post. So I thought that was actually really interesting, which shows the technology is still very early. Yep. Right. And so we are breaking it to build it. And so I think we need to keep that in mind versus thinking that this is the be all end all. Like get excited about the evolution versus as if we're getting to a moment where this is the ending. Right.
Absolutely. Okay. So Ashu, you've built and are building a huge company. We'll talk a little bit about that in a moment. 2X unicorn in the HR space, a lot of AI. How do you, as a founder, co-founder, head of a company like this, looking at it like I'm building this great company and I've got a lot of customers, I need a lot more, I've got a lot of venture coming in. How do you think about blockchain in building the business? Is it a concern? Is it on your radar? Where does it fit in your like level of things that you're thinking about?
Probably I'm the least educated about blockchain and NFT and crypto in this room.
You should listen to all of us.
Exactly.
No.
I just agree.
We do know some things.
So we, just to high level, I'm Ashutosh Garg. We have a startup in the HR tech space where we use AI to help people understand people's career path. And we can dive more in that later. I think 6 years back when we started, the hype was all about blockchain, crypto, and it almost felt like, what are we doing in the HR space? We're about AI. Fortunately, 6 months back, everything changed with ChatGPT and AI is really, really hot and everyone is talking about it. But I think the blockchain, the way I look at it, is it has an opportunity right now at this time to completely disrupt AI space. Mm-hmm. So for example, with generative AI, the biggest challenge that is happening is the authenticity of the content. They can hallucinate. So through blockchain, if we can enforce the authenticity so that things can be trained on the right data, we know what it is being trained on credibly, I think the outcomes will be very, very different. Yeah. So I see huge hope with blockchain in this time.
I also think it needs to be invisible. Like in the end, our parents or everyone using, social networks aren't asking like, but how is it built? That is a bit of an issue. And I think it's led us to where we are with like not really understanding the use of the data. Like the lack of knowledge and care to educate the public has led us to where we are today. However, the reality is the more people ask questions and don't understand what's happening, one, it's important to encourage them to learn, to educate the user and empower them. But then also like, you shouldn't have to educate them, right? Like it should be just there without, you should be checking out of, your what's it called, the shop or whatever, and you shouldn't have to think about bridging. You shouldn't think about opening your wallet and clicking
which
through
wallet
these
and all
things.
those other little
It's
things.
too
Yeah.
complicated. So there are a lot of
Well,
barriers for it.
Well, look, when thinking about the hype cycle, right? I mean, we are the traditional Gartner hype cycle. You've all seen it. We are in the trough of disillusionment right now, or despair, or whatever you want to call it. But what comes after going into that plateau of productivity right now is when the things are being built. We've washed a lot of the excess out, all the rug pulls and the bad NFTs and all that. And now I think we're starting to see some real use cases. I want to talk about a couple of them and just get your opinions on them. One is Reddit. I mean, Reddit is invested in the blockchain. They're doing really interesting things. Maya, I want to turn it over to you. And what's your sense as you look out at what they're doing and maybe lessons in what they're doing right?
It's right, Reddit, like Reddit and Starbucks also.
Yep. And Starbucks, yeah.
Yeah, they are. I have been so impressed by how they really, just lay this out to users. Like, when you look at ChatGPT, like when I go back to Japan, like my friend's dad, and like I'm from like small little town in Japan, and like my friend's dad is using ChatGPT, and I was like, wow. But then on the other hand, blockchain, wallet is just so hard to use. So 5% of Americans can do basic computer operations. For example, one of the example was, can you get the percentage of the email that you got from Sarah Smith, which is about sustainability? Probably you can kind of imagine like using Gmail filter, but only 5% can do that. So if you think about it, wallet operation is like way, way higher than that. So thinking about it, where they really, really like hit this like layer, and like people talk about like, why do we have to like talk about like database that is backend? And then like I think where they really beautifully showed that like, hey, we don't have to talk about technology behind backend, like we just have to like create the great use case that no one has to know about.
And a great user experience. Ashu, what do you think? What have you seen in the success side on the blockchain and in crypto recently, or what are your thoughts there?
I'll just give you an example of a technology that we are working on, and blockchain is a good enabler of that. When people apply for jobs, one of the biggest challenges is 99% of the people get rejected.
How many people have been rejected when they applied for a job? If you didn't raise your hand, you're lying. Go ahead.
So can you start applying for a job by anonymizing yourself, who you are? Why do you want rejection bias?
Yeah.
It teaches you lessons, life lessons.
No, you apply.
Oh, meaning,
But
okay.
companies, what they do is once you're rejected, they hold that against you forever.
Oh,
You were rejected last time. You applied. We don't want to talk
oh,
about
that
it.
one company. Yeah.
Or the other way around too, because if you rejected me, guess what? I'm not applying any jobs at your company again.
So what we are doing is using, variety of technologies, and blockchain is over time going to be part of it, is really help people anonymize it and become the anonymization platform so that individuals can control their identity. So when I'm applying for a job, companies can look at my profile, and only when I'm interested in engaging with them, that is when I will reveal who I am. Otherwise, they will never know. So that's where I control not only my identity, the authenticity of the content.
Sounds like a little swipe right, swipe left thing, right? Yeah, I think I like that. So, sure, a question for you, and really for everybody, but the social aspect of crypto and the blockchain was always a big element of it, building communities. There's a new startup that I just found out about and started playing with, which you probably already know about and are on it and probably on the leaderboard, was Friendtech. Yeah, and so Friendtech is interesting. It actually, there is more, number 3 or number 2 on the number of gas fees have come in. A friend of mine gave me a code. I went in, I'm like, I'm not giving you 0.01 of my ETH to get in on it. But talk to me about the social. Is Friendtech a thing that we should be looking at? It's like, oh, this is amazing, or is it just another one of those? I heard you go, so I guess it's.
No, it just all these things seem so tiring. Like, what more do I need to do to connect and make money? Right? Like, although I do think there is an interesting case study there. I think there's something there with giving you back something, rewarding you for interacting on a social network as a consumer, as a fan, a community member, and then also as the person that has the community. Like, I think that the issue and why a lot of these social networks lead to burnout is because there's not an energy exchange or a transaction exchange. You're putting in, you're putting in, you're putting in, you're putting in, and you're like, barely getting anything back.
Yeah.
It's the ultimate toxic relationship, right? And so, so I think that there is something there. However, yeah, buying and selling your friends, the transaction element of it. I would love to see this, and this is very challenging, kind of Brave, if you know the Brave browser, right? You get tokens the more you use it, right? And so like, I would love to have it so that these platforms that we're all on, you are getting tokens back for what you're sharing, for what you're engaging with, what you're interacting with. And then also as a creator, I'm getting it just for simply showing up in a way that feels authentic for me.
Yeah, the problem with that is that even like Brave seems to me as a user like a frequent flyer program with no free flights that you can use your frequent
Well, yeah,
flyer.
but then we're not there
Right?
yet in terms of like, then what do you get out of it? What does that actually translate to? Ultimately, it would have to translate to you being able to use the tokens as money for something, right?
Right,
So
exactly.
There's issues still, there's obstacles.
So I have a question for the audience. Anybody using FriendTech? Anybody in here?
Still a
Okay, wait,
bubble.
somebody, there's
Still
two
a
people.
bubble.
All right, wait, I got to find out what you think of it. Hold on.
Okay.
You raised your hand. Okay, what do you think of it?
It looks like a Ponzi.
Looks like a
Ponzi scheme.
Yeah.
All right, looks like a Ponzi scheme.
Well,
Case closed.
yeah, the thing is, I'll tell you
Thank
the one nice thing about it is that, with social media, if you have people that you're trying to get in touch with that have a big following, it's hard to get their attention. And I know a lot of people actually going into people's friend tech spaces and like applying for jobs, reaching out, networking, because those people will pay attention to them more in these smaller, more niche emerging spaces, which I think is cool.
So, Mai, what do you think about FriendTech? If you've seen it and heard about it, used it, or the social aspect of what you can build on blockchain and where that sits?
Transparently, I haven't used
No, it's
it.
fine. I just found out about it 3 days ago, so it's probably the rest
so
of us.
late, Jim.
I'm so late to the game. It's a Ponzi scheme, though, so I'm glad I didn't. So go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
But yeah, one of our friends, Zenica, was like just published an article about FriendTech, and honestly, I thought the way that they built was really, really smart, right?
And the onboarding, how they onboarded it, right?
Yeah, like in the monetization aspect for creators. So for example, like the example that he mentioned is like, hey, if Taylor Swift create this chat group, and if you can buy to get into that chat room, would you? And like, 100 millions of people will probably jump on and like, hello, right? So I think that was really, really smart. So like, that's one of the way that like, and it doesn't have to be Taylor Swift. Like it could be a small creators actually like monetizing that. So that actually what I was really smart. But there's a service, I don't know, some of you might remember, like there's a service called Cloud, I think. Was it Cloud?
Yeah, this isn't the first time this
Remember smart-
something like this. BitClout,
Exactly.
not BitClout. Oh,
Yeah,
exactly. And that
Right.
like went really fast and just like went really fast. So
it
that
went away.
just-
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Clubhouse.
Clubhouse also, yeah. it was-
Clubhouse, yeah. So a question for you guys, and we're going to move on to AI after this, but obviously a lot of problems, and I mean, by the way, the stuff Virtualness is doing is amazing. That's an example of something that is actually good and easy and fun, and you can go to Bhutan, which doesn't suck either. But there's a lot of, God, you look at all the stuff that like Mark Cuban got hacked, FTX, Stoner Cats, Creators League, all these things, the perceptions. How do we fix this? I mean, Ashu, you're a builder. You build big companies. You've obviously fixed a lot of problems with the technology that's popped up that you don't have to talk about. How do we fix this? Any thoughts?
I think bringing transparency over here is the number one thing.
Mhm.
Today, like in each of these, right, as you rightly said, it feels like a Ponzi scheme. It feels like everyone is here to extract money out of you. Everyone is here to trick you. Everyone is here to get your information in, right? What are you getting in return? How transparent are we about that stuff? So what we have found, transparency is the number one thing that can help build trust in these on these platforms.
Transparency, awesome. Mai, what about you? How do we fix this?
Yeah, it's like I love what you said about like people just buy clicks, right? So news just talk about these dramas. For sure, crypto has the most drama, so of course they talk about it. But what they don't talk about is technology advancement that we are like experiencing. And it's just like, to me, it's just such a shame that like, why do you all talk about this such a drama or SEC, like negative part, but not like the positive part that is like technology advancing extremely fast pace. So like us builders really have to like push the positive like news of like, hey, we're building this incredible thing and we are like pushing this forward. So I think that's the only way that I can see that can be fixed.
Good. Go ahead,
Sorry,
Ashu.
let me just add one more thing. It's
Yeah.
also a function of the kind of applications that come out of it. So, for example, there's certain applications that automatically build trust. An example of could be medical health records, right? If your health records are protected by blockchain, so that today, if you want to transfer your records from Kaiser to Stanford, it's a nightmare.
Right.
Why can't I have access to my own records? But then if I have access to my own records and I own them, how do I ensure authenticity of that? It's impossible. But if I build those kind of applications and we start seeing those kind of applications come in the market, I think people will have a lot more trust in these technologies.
Shira, what do you think? How do we fix it?
California is doing driver's license as well, and that will
Yep.
be a game changer. Where it's like, wait a second, like this same tech that was like part of the Bored Ape stuff that I heard about, or FTX is like, that's the same. Oh, I could see how it's used in different ways. And yeah, just like any sort of industry, there's bad parts of the industry and good parts. But I think media has a lot to do with it, the narrative. I think there needs to be more media that's playing around this space, not just reporting about it. A lot of the work I focus on is social impact and well-being and mental health and creativity and like the creator economy. And when you think about it from that aspect and the human element, then there are some really amazing, empowering stories that are happening, but no one is seeing that because they're not deep enough in it. So as a experiential journalist, as I like to say, I'm always in the spaces that I'm talking about. I'm playing around myself before necessarily reporting about it, so I get the nuances of it. And then education, right? Like there needs to be more education about what happens, what to do. I think there is responsibility from the social network side to have those steps in place. Are you sure you want to click this? This looks like a bad link. I don't know. And then also on I think these platforms like MetaMask and Coinbase, like there needs to be some sort of process in between being compromised and clicking on something. But
Yeah.
we're not there yet. And I believe people are trying to figure it out.
Yep. Well, let's move on to AI. I'm going to jump in and ask the same question that Mai did about AI. How many people are building with AI? There's a few more people building with AI, which seems to make sense. With I get so, Ashu, let's start with you. Your HR startup is AI based. You're a 2x unicorn. From your perspective, what's the state of AI right now?
Massive hype.
So we're way up here at the top of the hype cycle. Peak of inflated expectations.
But before I answer that,
Yep.
So I got my PhD in 2002. And at that time, we would never say we are doing AI. AI was considered to be a negative word.
Yeah.
There was a time when people hated the word AI. In fact, when I got the admission, I tried my best to get out of it. Like, who wants to do AI? Who wants to do computer vision? No one. There was a time. Because there was a massive hype, but it didn't deliver.
When I went to grad school and got my MBA, did it in computer applications, and I took a course in AI, and this was in the late 80s. And I still have my textbook. I pulled it out for somebody, but same thing. It's been hyped and not hyped, and hyped and not hyped. And now it's hyped again, right?
I think, like right now, when we talk about AI, we think of mainly ChatGPT. I mean, it seems like AI and ChatGPT are synonymous right now, and that's the only AI we talk about, right? If we think from that angle, there's a massive, massive hype.
Yeah.
I think it has shown phenomenal power to generate content. It has shown massive power to summarize content, but really that is all it has done. So on one hand, I would say it's amazing what it can do, but we have to be very realistic about what it cannot do as well at the same time. And if we put those things to the right use, I think we will have phenomenal outcomes. So I think we're in a hype cycle, but we are seeing some real applications come out. What no one is talking about are the real applications that are already there in the market, which are powered by AI, which are different from ChatGPT.
Yep.
When you're driving a Tesla, or when Tesla is driving itself, that is AI. But one I will mention, anyone over here has ever gotten CAT scan or MRI? Anyone? That is a version of AI, actually. that life-threatening or life-depending technology is powered by the
Well,
same technology.
Another example, how many people use TikTok? AI. So Mai, how about you? How has AI become a part of your business, which is, it's got the Web3 component to it. So how do you think about that?
Yeah, like we haven't incorporated in the external tool, like internally, like for example, like on the weekend, I wrote the script with Llama and they put all the customer support prompt into that. And then like in half an hour, like I can just create the chatbot. And that was just like, and then just that was actually correct. So I was like, wow, this is just really powerful. And I was listening to one of the talk at Text and Disrupt by one of our lead investors. And he was like, you, like in this, if you're starting right now, like you have to incorporate somehow. Otherwise,
No one's going to give you money if you don't say AI. Is that what you're saying? Right?
Yeah, more or less. I don't think that's true.
I
but
can say it.
yeah.
You don't have to.
But yeah, it's just, it is massive hype. So yeah, it is interesting.
Yeah, go ahead. Where do you see it, Shira? You're
For me,
covering
I
it now.
use it- yeah, I
And use
cover
it?
the space. I use it to help me write my scripts, my social media captions. But I'm really good at giving direction. Like in the end, it's only as powerful as you are, right? So it's supposed to amplify and support what you're doing. It doesn't replace. So you can't come out with something if you don't have the idea and you don't understand how to direct it, which goes back to like being the prompt master, right? And so I do think it is helpful because I think as a creative, you get writer's block, you're working alone a lot. That could be really alienating and it can be hard, including when you're pumping out content. And so the fact that it's like something to work off of and throw my ideas to and get some feedback in a way, like I've really enjoyed it. I even write emails with it. Like I'll write a draft and I'll say, is this good? Like, this is my goal of this email. What are your thoughts? Is it professional? And it helps me.
Well, look, I want to talk about a study that came out, the beginnings of it, really on Friday. Harvard Business Review, BCG consultants got together. They took a group of consultants from BCG. They put them in two groups. One group didn't use AI. The other group used basically generative AI, Bing, ChatGPT-4, et cetera, et cetera. They tested them across 18 different tasks: creativity, analytical thinking, writing, persuasiveness. And what they found was across every single task, the consultants that were using ChatGPT, Bing, whatever, were way more effective. They were 25% faster, which basically means you can do in 30 hours what you were doing in 40 hours. I want 10 hours back. And so many other things there. I'm not going to summarize it too much, but Ashu, I want to push back a little bit saying it's overhyped and not used for much, because this clearly showed that it can level up even top consultants and make them more productive and work faster.
So you said, where is AI? I'm like, there's a lot of hype, but there's also a lot of reality.
Yeah.
Today, we think answer to everything, what you're saying as an investor, right? If you're starting a company, you need to have AI. So there's that element, I think, which is not good. But at the same time, it is making all of us look smarter.
Mhm.
It is helping us do a much better job. Suddenly, in fact, I will tell you one funny story. Is I was thinking of writing an email for our company anniversary. I used ChatGPT to generate that email. And then I was like, this looks so good. So I had to edit it to look not so good so that it looks human.
I'm going to tell you a similar story. So getting some work done on my house, I needed to go out to the contractors with what I wanted done so they would give me bids. And I started writing this RFP and putting it together. I'm like, I should just ask ChatGPT. And I did, and I gave it the parameters, and it came up. And by the way, I didn't just send that out because it was wrong on a bunch of stuff. Like my house would look like crap if it did what it told it to. But I rewrote it a little bit. I had a builder come by 2 days ago who said, are you in the construction business? I'm like, no, why? He said, that's the best RFP I've ever seen. Like, I'm going to use this and give it to other people. And I'm like, and he was like, are you in computers? And I'm like, yes. So, Mai, what do you think about should everybody be using it and for what?
I think so many places, like for example, we haven't had marketer for a while. I mean, like I do think marketer is necessary, but like for example, we promoted our CS to social media marketer because she can get idea from ChatGPT, and she's a Philippine from Philippines. Her English is not that perfect, but she can just put it and then like make it perfect English, and then she can just manage. So anyone, I just got the feeling, oh, anyone can do like one step above. For example, like I am an engineer, but like I keep forgetting about like how to write code because I don't do it like 100%. But now I'm like, please write this script to like import the CSV and like, parse and like, put it out. And it just like gives me answers. So like saves a lot of time. So yeah, like it's just like really like one step above is like, really like help. One step above is something that I feel like the right word to say. So yeah, that's how I feel right now.
Yeah, and Shira, what do you think people should be doing? How should they be using it? What should they be doing? And what do you recommend? Maybe give some examples beyond just writing that perfect email.
I know. I need where's my phone? I need some of my notes. But I wish it was in my head.
That's why we have AI. It doesn't have to be in your
No.
head.
No, I do think that when these spaces pop up, even if it's overhyped, you should learn about it. You should be curious. Don't let your, I guess, stubbornness or your ego stop you from being part of emerging movements. I just think that is so important. And so, a lot of times with my companies, like I'm playing with things before I bring it to my team, because I'm not going to be that leader or that boss that says, oh, I hear this work. Can you guys just use it, try it out? And then it's like, that's very disruptive actually to workflows. But when I'm playing around with something myself and I'm seeing how it works and I'm iterating and learning, and then I say, I've done it myself. I know how to use it, and now this is how we could add it to our workflow. I think that's really important. I think as a content creator, there's ones that can help with, editing long videos to short form videos. You can take articles and put it in, and they could write a script for you, and then you could shoot that and then add closed captions immediately. There's so many things that makes our job easier, and even voiceover. You can, record your voice and then add the script, and you don't even need to do the voiceover. How many times does that happen where you've nowhere to record because you're busy, right? Or in a too loud of a place. So all of these things allow us as, I think, content creators to do our jobs more efficiently, effectively, because the reality is the content space, if we're going to talk about that, the models don't add up. Right. So we need to have, unfortunately, cheaper and easier ways to do things faster right now in order to keep up. I also just think, I'll just add, because I'm very passionate about the wellness and mental health space. And I think there's huge opportunities around AI and, AI coaches for people, or being a liaison to mental health professionals that we're going to see pop up.
So, I wanted to quickly talk about the downsides and what you shouldn't do. So, Mai, want me to start with you? Is there a downside, like what you shouldn't do with AI? What you should, because look, there's copyright, there's music, there's content creators thinking their jobs are going away, all those things going on. What shouldn't people be doing now?
Yeah, mainly what I personally feel is really protect artists. Like all the artists, I've been looking at all the profiles for artists. Everyone says, please don't use my art for AI learning. And they're just desperately really asking. And it's just like, this is like really huge problem. So what we personally want to do is called proof of human. So what I love what you mentioned about like blockchain plus AI, and like blockchain can like show the authenticity. So what we want to do is like kind of show the proof that this artist is actually human, and then like show the creation so that artists can differentiate themselves with AI. So then like they can protect themselves from like being generated, and they can just keep showing their creativity.
Yep. Cool. Ashu, what shouldn't people be doing?
Blindly trust.
Blindly, yeah.
So sometimes it's so good what it generates. It looks so authentic. But today you can say roughly 80% of the time it's correct, 20% it's not. So you need to be able to verify it. And I think one of the areas everyone should be focused on building verification tools or mechanisms. So like you generate an email, you generate an image, you generate some summarization, you ask it to write an article, that RFP. I think if you had not reviewed it yourself, it would have been a disaster.
Yep.
But once you reviewed it, it was phenomenal. And all of us are lazy at heart. Yeah, it looks kind of good. So let me just go with it. Go with the flow, right? The first 2 pages look good. Probably the third page is going to be fine too. No. Verify, don't blindly trust.
Yeah, it's what I call it a possibility engine. And it's so funny because we're so used to computers being right and everything. That's, of course, it's a computer. It's going to be right. And even stats like 95% confidence or 98% confidence. It's like you say, it could be like like half right, half wrong. I'm going to Japan and I asked ChatGPT, like, what hotel should I stay in? The hotels could have been great and they could have been rat filled too. I mean, what do you think? That's why I had to check it out in other places. What do you think people shouldn't be doing, Shira?
Yeah, don't rely on it too much, right? Don't get lazy, because I think the minute we do is when things go awry.
Yeah.
And as someone who has professionally been dealt with the repercussions of mistakes that have been out there in the public, I'm just like, yeah, letting you know, yeah, make sure you verify it. Right. And so I think there's definitely that. And then I think that we need to listen to the artists and the creatives that are scared. We can't dismiss and invalidate their feelings because, you know, the train has left the station, jump on board or else. It's like these things are valid. And in order to create a healthy, sustainable space for all of us, we need to be listening and co-creating. And I think that's something that isn't really happening right now in order to create an ethical space.
Yep.
For all of us.
Agreed. So we have about 10 minutes left, and I want to move to talk about the intersection of AI and the blockchain. And so to kick that off, I want to talk a little bit about gratitude on chain, which is the thing that Virtualness and Kurthigo was talking about here, which actually ties together blockchain, ties together AI, ties together NFTs. Super interesting. And I think there are a couple projects up here that we're working on in the gratitude on chain space. And Shira, let me start with you. Talk about what you're doing.
Yeah, thanks, Jim.
Mm-hmm.
So Peace Inside Live, my company, we are an experiential agency for wellness. We're bridging the gap between digital culture and well-being. And recently we've launched the JOMO Journal, the Joy of Missing Out Journal. Yes,
Yeah.
It's an antidote to FOMO.
JOMO, yes, nice.
So it helps support you to cultivate joy daily. And it's a journal with morning and evening prompts. We actually have art from digital artists who created unique pieces of what joy means to them. When you buy the art, it goes to mental health charities. So we're really trying to bridge the gap there. And so you can buy it on Virtualness, but we're doing packages because obviously you could already buy it online, but when you buy it there over the next, 21 days, you can also get access to an experience with me and my co-founder, Jordana, where we're going to be going through the whole journal, how to use it, how to cultivate your JOMO. And then we have also other exclusive perks that you can get access to when you go on the site. So definitely check it out. And we're going to be selling where I am. She's not here, but
Yeah.
I represent. We're going to be selling the journal here tonight. So after the panel, we're going to be set up and come stop by and you can buy a journal and start being part of this gratitude on chain.
Cool. Ashu, what about you? You involved in this whole project and what do you think about it and what's going on there?
So thanks to Kritika, the way I'm involved is through Lifttree.
Yep.
There's the initiative Lifttree, which is about helping moms get back in their career. Today, the maternity leave is almost like a death sentence to your career. Yeah. And we have all kind of returnship programs, but we're like, okay, you have been working for 10 years. You just had a baby, get back in line. You have to reprove yourself. I mean, if there's any definition of insanity, that's
crazy.
Opinion,
it's
right?
Totally crazy.
It's crazy, right? So we started this initiative, Lifttree. The idea is that how can we help moms get back in career, get the same job, same career growth they would have had even otherwise. And as part of that, number of people have volunteered to enable coaching sessions for women to help them, guide them. So enabling that.
That's awesome.
And if anyone over here wants to volunteer and wants to be a coach, please sign up. So you can email me, email Kritika for that.
And you have 20 more days to get involved in all this, by the way. So it's not just a one-day thing. Mai, what about you? What are your thoughts on this? And what are you up to or what are you going to do over the next 20 days?
Yeah, so I made the gratitude on chain collection yesterday. I'm a little bit more self-centered than two of you, so I made the collection for our community. But it's if any of you are interested in chatting with me about blockchain ideas, I'm happy to chat. So yeah, that's probably my show of gratitude.
Cool. Well, I'll quickly talk about what I'm doing. I have a lot of gratitude for the community that's built around the Creator Economy newsletter that I do inside the Creator Economy. So, and I'm doing some meetups, including one next week in Baltimore. So what I decided to do was buy them all drink. So if you, that's kind of a crazy thing. They actually have to pay a little bit for it, but they can have any drink they want. So I expect to spend a lot of money on high shelf, top shelf stuff. But anyway, that's kind of cool. You can find that up there. And in addition, if anybody wants me to do a meetup in, say, Bhutan, they can actually buy an NFT that gets me there. So yeah, that's very cool.
I've added that to mine.
I know it's fairly
I
pedestrian.
didn't know that was in
Buy me a
option.
freaking drink. I'll buy you a drink. Come on down, and we'll do it. So it's super fun. But let's talk about. And by the way, great stuff. Let's round of applause for virtualness. By the way, and gratitude on chain's amazing.
Lots of gratitude. Thank you.
The way I think about it, has anybody been to Paris? Has anybody seen the lock bridge?
Yeah.
Right? The locks, you put your love lock on there. That's what this is. You know, those locks are there forever. And that's what gratitude on chain is. It's basically the virtual version of the lock bridge. I think it's so freaking cool. So blockchain and AI coming together. Examples of where that is also happening besides virtualness and other places. Who's got an example that wants to start? Anything else cool there?
Yeah, I'm gonna start.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we chatted about it a little bit, but blockchain really preserve this authenticity. So for example, let's say Samayayoi have this like piece, and then someone else create art with AI and then someone claims that this is by Samayayoi and try to sell it, but then blockchain can prove that it's like because the source is not Samayoi's wallet, people can know that it's not authentic. So that's the perfect way to use blockchain and AI. Blockchain is so what I feel is AI is enabling artificial creation, but blockchain is enabling artificial scarcity. So our blockchain can protect copyright abuse, the use of abuse of AI.
So cool. So cool. Ashu, any examples? Anything come to mind? I mean,
It
it's
doesn't come to mind, but one thing we should definitely do is dismantle USPTO and replace it with blockchain on AI.
yeah, take the USPTO right out of it. All right. What about you, Shira? Anything on your side?
I'm just surprised that some of these companies that are, AI content, even, music, didn't think about like how do you actually track all this, right?
Yeah, right.
And make sure that
Well,
like it's a huge issue they put
it's
out
a
in the
tough
world, and they're like,
problem.
oh, this is going to go everywhere, deep fakes and all that. So I think the biggest, one of the biggest things that I think we're going to be trying to solve is, like including with the election coming up, man, the deep fake issue, that is going to be huge. What excites me as a content creator is the ability to co-create and have a smart contract where everyone could be getting a part of that. Right.
Yep.
And from musicians, like someone could create the beat, I could do the vocals, and it's all on a smart contract. Like each of it, we can, figure out who's owed what, but then it's there forever. Right. And it's transparent. That's the biggest issue right now on the music industry side. I mean, there's so many obstacles and challenges right now that, both AI and blockchain can solve. So I'm excited for that.
You know what? Well, some of the identity problem and the fake problem, like that, and it's got problems, but I'm super interested in the soulbound token, and I might go get my eyeball scanned. You can do it down at the Ferry Building, I think. We've got a couple more questions, a couple more minutes, but I want to open it up. We've got these amazing people here. Anybody have a question? Farouj, you want to come up, see if anybody has any questions? No, you want to sit there? Yeah. Here, I'm going to give you the mic.
This is not a question. I just think Jomo is brilliant.
Thank
Like,
you.
Brilliant.
I'm not going to say, all right, I'm not going to say we created it. It was in the dictionary a few years ago, but I think it's
I'd
like
never
we're
heard of
using
it,
as a
though.
theme. Exactly.
I'm
It
gonna
has
give you
not been
credit.
mainstream.
No, you make the baseball caps. It's yours.
Thank you.
That's right.
Thank you.
Anybody have a question? I'll run the mic around. Got a question right up here. I don't have to run far. Thank you.
How do you guys think blockchain and AI can help with bias?
With bias.
Help with bias. Yeah.
Oh my God, I have a great
It's a good one.
example. So,
Go ahead, Mike.
okay, so yeah. So the blockchain, I'm talking about the blockchain. You talk about AI. So for blockchain, one of my friends is building this company called Nox, and what they do is you don't have to dox, you don't have to dox your identity until you get hired. So like they use technology called ZK proof. So they don't even know, the platform doesn't even know the information about their identity. So the only thing that they know is this identity is proved. So that way, you don't get any bias of like woman, where you come from, like color, anything, because like nobody knows, like even platform doesn't know. So that's one cool example of blockchain combating bias.
Okay, Ashu.
I think that this is a great example, which is anonymization. But more importantly, having transparency around what data is being used to train your algorithms is extremely critical to manage bias. So,
And just making sure, I mean, this is an obvious one, like the leadership and the people building are like represent different people, different types of people, because there was a great Rolling Stone article actually about this, about all the Black women that came together that were working for some of the bigger companies, including Google, and fought back because they were seeing the large language models or pulling the, biased data and information. And we need to be highly aware of this. And I think that a lot of people are fighting that fight. Unfortunately, it shouldn't be on the shoulders of Black and brown folks, including women. Those are the people that usually sound the alarm. So I think as white folks behind the scenes and leaders, like we have to be working together and make sure we're aware that we're not given the heads up by someone that it's impacting.
I think that's great. Great question. And that's a good question for us to end this panel on. So Ashu, Mai, Shira, thank you guys very much.
Thank
Big round of
you.
applause. And I'm going to turn it back over to Rachel and give her the mic, and you can take it from here.
Thank you, everyone, so much for coming here this evening. Thank you to our amazing panelists, Shira, Mai, and Ashutosh. And of course, Jim is like one of the best moderators in the entire world. And
My course will probably be next year on how to moderate like a pro, but you can see videos about how to moderate like a pro on my LinkedIn. So,
and speaking of which, you can hire him to organize one of your own meetups by buying a digital good on virtualness. And I have to say it's very well priced. So go check it out. And if you purchased it, then you will be entered to win that amazing trip to Bhutan. And the other, speaking of video as well, is that this was live streamed on YouTube and will be shared on Virtualness social media, and also on Edge and Nose and House of Web3s as well. So please check it out. I was really taken away by a lot of the conversation tonight around, my takeaways were around we're really in the time of building, but not just building tools, but building use cases. There's still some missing links, like the Brave browser is giving out tokens, but then what? And the real changing point's going to be when things like our driver's licenses or like building trust will be built into the blockchain, as well as when, and with AI, one of the things that Shira said is that AI is only as good as you make it. Like you have to be the director and you can't trust it blind, which is what Ashutosh recommended. And I think that really spoke to me also when Jim was saying, like, I don't know if those hotels are going to be for me. So a lot of great conversations tonight. Please go back and take a look at it. Shira actually is going to be selling her Jomo journal and signing it and personalizing it for you. So you can download, actually the next slide there is our QR code. And so you can download Virtualness, or you can go to the mobile web and purchase a digital good, and Shira will sign the journal for you as well. And then you'll be able to do a webinar with Shira as well, and she'll take you through how to use it. So go out there and cultivate your Jomo. And thank you for everyone.
So we really hope that you find at least like one or two new people that you haven't met before, and check out all of the amazing creators that you can find on Virtualness. So thank you, everyone, and let's keep the conversation going. Thank you. On the in-person.
Oh, wow.
Nice to meet you. Step. Sort of, yeah. I mean, I'm more like, yeah, I guess I'm moderator. So. So if you just, I can scan your QR code, you can scan mine. Then we can connect. Yeah, follow me and I'll announce it. Oh, God. Okay. Yeah, but here, pull up the and then I'll scan yours. Like that. No. Yeah, scan you. It's not like scan you, it's like, there we go, stuff. Cool, yeah, stay in touch. I'm here. We'll do it for you. So, yeah. Awesome. Totally. I just sent you an sweet. Let's do this stuff. Thanks. Hey, how you doing? I'm Jim. Hey, Rick. How are you? Have fun. Yeah, it's fun. And I can some shit.